Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Bill Horgan from DealerPRO. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Where'd you come in from today?
Columbus, Ohio. That's where our corporate office is in Columbus.
Nice. That's not too bad of a drive.
No, it wasn't too bad, a couple hours.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming. I'd like to get started with a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the career path that brought you to where you are today with DealerPRO?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me. When I was young, I loved working on cars. I loved working on my own cars and my motorcycles. So I went to trade school to become an automotive mechanic. Mm-hmm. And then I tried doing it for about a year, and I wasn't overly excited about doing that. I wasn't having a lot of fun, and I'm very much a people person, so I started to really focus on becoming an advisor. Mm-hmm. And became an advisor about the age of 19, and I was very good at it. I had a lot of success doing it. And then at the age of 23, I started to become I was offered the job of being a service manager. I became a service manager at the age of 23. And I did that for about 16 years until I started doing training and consulting. And I was the first employee hired by DealerPRO about 23 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I've been working for them. I've been lucky enough to train in 48 of the 50 states and 9 of the 10 provinces of Canada. And I've been in about 560, or trained for about 560 automobile dealerships.
Wow, that's a lot of dealerships.
It is. I've seen a lot of different sizes. Small. I've been down in stores probably as small as 5 techs and stores as big as 75 techs. So.
Wow. It's always fun to go into dealerships because they all have such it's like a unique culture. It's almost like going into another family's house and just seeing how they do things.
It truly is. They're all, as you said, very unique. The way that they handle things, the way that they do things. They all have their own method, the terminologies they use. That you're a salesperson at this store, you're a consultant at this store, and I just really enjoy what I do. It's a lot of fun and to help people and to work with people.
Great. Well, I want to ask you a question about your training. You've trained with all those dealerships. I mean, who knows how many people, and now we have so many different generations. I mean, we got the baby boomers all the way through multiple different generations.
Sure.
People that like you and I that were born before there was a smartphone, to people that had one in their hands when they were 2 years old. Like how have you had to change the way that you do your training over the last 23 years as these different generations have come to maturity?
Well, change. I certainly have changed my training over the last 23 years. Is it because of the generations? I'd probably wonder a little bit about that. I do know that what our main focus when we go in to train in a store is trying to focus on our ethical responsibility to our customers when we go in. And that's one of DealerPRO's main focuses when we're there, is to focus on our job is to provide people a safe, reliable vehicle, and how can we do that? And that's difficult for any generation to argue with. I think that people really, why do we do a good multi-point inspection to provide somebody a safe, reliable vehicle? Why do we tell people about their maintenance needs to provide them a safe, reliable vehicle? And, that's our ethical responsibility to our customers. And, when I'm even training managers, I just did a manager workshop earlier this week, and I talked to them about what their ethical responsibility is to their employees. And when you focus on that, I think it can appeal to almost any generation.
What is the manager's ethical responsibility to their employees?
To make them successful at their jobs.
That's easy, right?
Yeah.
That's simple.
To train them. And one of the points of getting across is, we talk about accountability, and some people hear the word accountability when you're training, when you're training a manager or whatever, and they seem to kind of bristle at that. And I think, accountability is really just motivating people. Accountability is setting goals for them, because you hold people accountable basically for 2 things. You hold them accountable for goals, and you hold them accountable for processes. So now, how do you make people successful? By hitting those goals and hitting those processes. And that's really what you're trying to do. When you go in every day, your job is to educate and motivate your people to be more successful at their job.
Nice. Let's talk about the tech shortage. I mean, that's an issue that everyone feels across the country. Every dealership in America would love to have a few more good technicians.
That's right.
And they're not the only ones looking for them. It's every industry. I mean, if you are good at working with your hands, you're going to have a job. And so dealerships can't find enough techs. Trade schools can't find enough students doesn't paint a really pretty picture. What can dealerships do?
Well, well, I'll get into what they can do, but I'm going to back up what you just said because I'm in complete agreement. We go into dealerships all the time. I know they could grow their business if they only had technicians, because how does a service department makes money? You focus really on two numbers. It's how many hours you produce versus or multiplied times your effective labor rate. So when you put those two things together, effective labor rate you can adjust and modify slightly, but the hours is the struggle. And how do you produce more hours? Well, either you got to make the technicians you got more productive, or you got to have more technicians. And a lot of the stores, they're maxing out their productivity, so they need to find more technicians. Technicians are leaving the industry 3 for every 1 that's coming in, last I heard.
Oh, wow.
And I heard that it's even, someone told me that they read it's 5 for every 1 that's coming in. So when you're looking at how many technicians are leaving the industry, how do we attract more in? Well, Toyota did a study and found out that express technicians, there's 100% turnover in express technicians at their Toyota stores. And I would imagine every year. So that means that we're constantly recycling them. We see it all the time. When we go into dealerships, we see these express technicians, and they don't see a career path for themselves. So how do you, what I would say is there are no A technicians looking for work. There's very few B technicians looking for a job. And there's very few C technicians looking for a job. So what we're doing is we bring in these what we call D technicians, which would be an express technician, and we bring them in the door, and there's 100% turnover because they don't see a path for a long-term career. So one of the things we've been doing working with our dealerships, we have we call it a technician career path training. How can we take those express techs and turn them into what we call C techs, and then give them a path to become a B tech, and if they choose to become an A tech down the road. I would tell you, I'm a big believer you could take somebody who has no training and train him to be an express tech in probably a week. You can take an express tech and train him to become a C tech, which does a lot of the heavier maintenance and brakes and other things like that. And you can probably train someone to do that in about 90 days if you have a concerted effort to do so and you have a good training plan in place. And then becoming a B tech is something you could probably do in about a year to a year and a half if there's a concerted effort to do so. Well, when we go into stores, and we've been doing our technician career path training, you won't believe how excited those technicians are to see that there's a path for them to go from being an express technician to becoming because an express technician is a job.
Yeah.
But it's not a career. And that's why so many of them see that. They don't see that opportunity to grow. And, when we go into stores all the time, that's what dealers, I think, need to focus on right now, is trying to show those young men and young women that are their express technicians that there's an ability that there's an opportunity to grow and to move to the next level.
Now, when you said a concerted effort to train them, is that something where if I'm an express technician and you're a C technician, maybe I spend an hour a day with you or a couple hours every few days with you, and then the C techs maybe spend a little bit of time with the B techs, or what's that look like?
So, when we go in and we train young technicians, we kind of have this training we call technical awareness, which teaches them all the basics of an automobile. It might even teach them what the 4-stroke engine is and other things like that. And then when we leave, we try to, and this is kind of to address more of what you were saying, then when we leave, we kind of set the technicians up with what are some of the other things. We'll have, if they have 100 alignment machines, we'll have a Hunter engineer come in and train those technicians how to do alignments properly. If they have maybe some flush companies that they use like BG or others like that, we'll have their reps come in and train them how to use their equipment properly. And then we'll have maybe a brake lathe, whoever utilize or sells them their brake lathes, we'll have a rep come in and teach them how to use the brake lathes properly and that sort of thing. And we do that, and we try to set it up in a 6-week period while we're leaving, and then we usually come back and do some additional training at the end on basic electrical and other things like that.
Oh, cool. So it's a curriculum. I mean, it's not just we're gonna do this. This is a syllabus for a curriculum that we're gonna follow, and you're gonna get there.
And we also recommend that the dealers get them a basic set of tools, and use that tool really as a retention tool to keep the technicians with them. Tell them that I'll buy you these tools. They'll be your tools to own, after staying with us for 2 years. So now you're the technician who you're doing the training, you're putting the effort in, can start to see that he has some basic tools and he can move ahead.
Wow, that's interesting. I want to ask you a question about your perspective. I mean, I think you might be the first person I've ever met that has 23 years of visiting a different dealership, as frequently as you do, and working in the service department. So I want to ask, I mean, you have a very unique perspective. I just want to kind of ask you, like, what are some of the coolest, neatest, like, what are some of the best things you've seen that are changes that are taking place, that have taken place in the service department?
I think the single biggest one is I've never seen service departments, and I think sales departments too, really worry as much about customer service as they do today. And I think in the past, a lot more were focused on making money. I don't see that today. I see every dealership wants to take care of their customers, and they try to do their best. And selling service is a really difficult thing. And in my personal opinion, it's a lot difficult than selling almost any other product you sell, because what we sell isn't tangible. Customers can't see almost anything we put on their car, so they have to take our word. And that's, in a way, that's one of the things I love to do, is to try to train an advisor to understand that what you sell isn't tangible to that customer. So you have to be a better salesperson than the other person. You have to really do a better job of doing feature benefit selling so the customer understands what that product is. And by doing a really good job, you make them believe you more, because that's, in my personal opinion, that's why most customers don't believe us, is because we sell them a product that they can't touch, see, taste, smell, or hear. So, in that instance, it's very difficult for a customer to trust us.
Yep. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you buy a brand new car, you can't wait to drive it home, drive it to work, drive it to your friend's house.
That's right.
You get a brand new transmission and nobody notices.
That's right.
You don't
even know, except for the car moves now.
Yeah, now it moves. Yeah, you get new brake pads in an alignment, and maybe it drives a little better, but yeah.
The single thing that we sell that has the highest customer satisfaction are tires, because you can see them. It's a safety item, so people are very excited when they're back there. I just bought 4 tires myself, getting ready for the winter. That's an exciting thing to do.
Yeah. Well, so that's the change that you've seen happen. What changes do you see coming in the near future, and maybe in 5 or 10 years?
Well, I do think with the electric vehicles coming up and a lot of states pushing for 100% electric, I do think that you're going to be seeing, there's going to be a different level of training for technicians that we've never seen before. Because number one, they're dangerous to work on if you don't have excellent training. Number two is that we're going to be seeing more and more of them. And when those things break down, they're very expensive to fix. They're not as inexpensive. I don't think they break down as much as a lot of internal combustion engine run vehicles, but I do think you're going to see some of that. I also see that there's a lot of some technology changing coming in, and we're starting to see that a lot of people are a lot of the tools that are coming up are good for the customers. When you do a multi-point inspection today, you can send somebody a video and pictures and things about the components that you're suggesting that they need, and it gives the customer a much better explanation. You can text it to them, you can email it to them. So there's just so many tools that we have today that I think are going to really increase the customer's awareness of what's going on, what you're doing today. And it helps advisors who, so many advisors walk in and they don't have any automotive background or any automotive knowledge truly. And so a lot of the tools that are coming out help them to help the customer, give the customer a much better understanding.
Nice. Technology really touches like every aspect of our life. And it seems like, I can't even drive from the hotel I stay in to the office without hearing somebody on the radio talk about AI.
Oh yeah.
It's like AI. It's almost like that, like it already took over. How do you see AI and other technologies impacting and like really changing the service department and the service experience?
Well, I've been reading a lot about AI because I know it's coming, and I'm trying to also see, could it help our training company in any way, with what we do. And one of the things that, I know that AI does is it gives you a lot more information. It's a good predictor of customer behavior right now. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen so far that it's done, is it predicts customer behavior. It can tell you when a customer is going to be certain mileage, how many miles they drive on a regular basis, and it can almost do it in an exacting way. So you can start advertising to a customer when they're going to need service, because you know that they're going to need service around that moment in time. You could also, advertise to them when they're going to need tires, we're going to need brakes, because the AI has helped you predict their behavior so well. Mm-hmm. Do I see it coming in other ways? I'm sure it is. I'm not so sure that we all know so far how much it can do for us, right?
Yeah.
I just heard that it came up with a cure for one form of cancer, so that's, so there's going to be a lot of other things it's going to do for us. I'm excited to see what they are, as long as it doesn't, as long as the robots don't come against us anymore.
Yeah. We don't need John Connor getting chased around by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's right.
Great. Was there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today, Bill?
I guess, it's an exciting time in our industry. There's a lot changing. I love being part of it. I love the new technologies coming out. I love the way dealers are really focused on taking care of their customers more than we've ever seen. I do think we got to focus on these technicians. Don't let them leave your dealerships. Don't let these express techs leave, because there's just so much opportunity with them. You take one. Our company did a study that the average hourly tech, the express tech, is producing about 32% productivity, which is extremely low. If you just took 5 technicians and you got them up to 100% productivity by training them and putting that concerted effort we talked into, you could add almost probably close to $850,000 a year in gross profit to the bottom line. That's just getting them to be more productive. And dealer after dealer is booked out 2, 3, 4 weeks, and you got some techs sitting in your shop that if we put some effort into training them, we could help. We could help reduce that backlog of work that we have.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's always better to hire from within, right? Promote from within. I mean, if you like them when they're at 32%, you're going to love them when they're at 100%. Yeah.
Right. It's good for them too, because you're helping them. That's one of the things we like best about training some of the young technicians, is because they're so excited, because they see a career path and they see a long term. And we talked about trying to make employees successful. Well, sometimes it's employees like that we ignore when there's a huge opportunity for them.
Thank you for coming, Bill.
Thank you very much. It's been great.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Bill Horgan from DealerPRO. We hope to see you again soon. This episode is Over the Curb and Burning Gas.